Good morning. Ann Whittington here with you from Reinventing Rural. And today on our Women's Entrepreneur Chat, we are super excited to have Jalene Case with us, who has her own coaching and consulting business in Newport. And she's going to talk to us a bit about her business. We want to learn more about it, and also some obstacles that she faced as she started a business in a rural area and how she overcame those. And she shared a link will share a link in the chat also later. So be sure and check that out too. So Jaylene, I'm just going to hand it over to you and let you chat.
Okay, well, I do that well. Hello. A really wonderful beat to be here, coming to you from the Central Oregon coast, and it's actually trying to be a beautiful day here. So I'm going to share a bit about me, but I also love to make this interactive. I don't like to just be the sage on the stage. So let me just start it off, and then we'll see what direction the conversation wants to go in. So I run a coaching and consulting business, and I really work with leaders. And by leaders, I want to say those are leaders that lead others, but also people who really want to lead themselves, and helping them and working with them to do a better job leading themselves first, because that's where it starts, and then also build stronger teams, more cohesive teams, more productive teams. And that might mean a team within your business. But if you're a small business owner, that might mean actually, creating your own team. You may need a graphic designer, a bookkeeper, a virtual assistant. I mean, there's lots of different ways to build teams, and it's still important to make sure they're all working together. So I do that through three different areas. You can just think of it three different ways. The first is with consulting. So I go into businesses, and again, I'm going to reiterate, doesn't matter the size, might be a larger corporation, might be a business of two, frankly. And I work with them usually I use a series of tools to help them learn more about themselves, and then share that with the people that they work with so they can connect better and really work together better, get more done. And the second area is executive coaching. So sometimes those business relationships turn into one-on-one coaching relationships. And that's when you really want to go deeper. You really want to get serious about working on where you want to develop, where you want to grow, what's most important to you. And those engagements last anywhere from 3 months to years. And then the third area is groups. And by groups, I mean things like I'm co-facilitating right now a complete leader program, and it's a Zoom session, and our cohort is located in Indonesia, Laos, and Australia. And so that is a group of people who are going through this program together. And so they're a group. I also lead a group in focusing on self-leadership, specifically leading themselves, and they're all from different organizations. It's kind of an example of groups. So on a personal note, just to make this more fun, because I know this is casual and we can just sort of get into it here. In 2015, my husband and I quit our good jobs. We rented out our house, and we rode 2 motorcycles to the southern tip of South America. And if you're thinking, wow, wow, it was life-changing. Absolutely. And people often ask me, oh my gosh, that sounds like so much fun. And I say, yeah, that was a part of it. I mean, it was magical. It was fun. On the other side, it was really challenging and hard. There was kind of no in the middle. And frankly, I learned a lot about self-leadership. And that's one of the reasons that I'm really hanging my hat on that now, because I love working with people in that messy place, whether it's an organization, because let's face it, people don't usually bring me in when everything's firing on all cylinders. They bring me in because maybe something's out of balance. They know it can be better. And it really starts with self-leadership before you can go anywhere else. And I learned a lot about that from different perspectives by riding a motorcycle and literally living off a motorcycle for 2 years. So let's see, that is a bit about me. I'm gonna look at my notes because I actually made some just in case I ran out of things to say. Here's something I want to share is that I think it's so important in a business to know why you're doing it. I mean, I love the work I do. I've worked hard at building this over the last few years. It was the thing I wanted to do, the big adventure I wanted to do after we came back from South America. And you all know, I mean, you're entrepreneurs. It's not easy. It takes work, it takes innovation, it takes continually evolving yourself and your business practices. So the why beneath all this is that I love to work with people to help them connect with themselves first and then connect with each other so that they can get what matters most done. That's really the loop here. You know, that self-awareness, the self-development that you build over a lifetime, right? That never ends. Fuels, you do it for a reason. You don't do it just because you want to, you know, navel gaze and do all those challenging work, the vulnerable work of growing and from the inside out. You do it because you want to do something big. You want to do something important. You want to do something that matters to you. So that's my why. And it really informs everything I do. Part of self-leadership is I've been developing 9 different strategies in self-leadership and have created a blueprint to help people look at the areas of their life to lead themselves better. I hear this from coaching clients over and over again as, you know, we just get to a point where we need to sort of reinvent ourselves or figure out where we are and where we want to go. And the first area of that is the foundation. It's things like making sure your business and your life are connected to your values. And I won't go into all 9 of those right now, but that's the direction that I'm going in with presentations and even starting to write a book on that. So I'm going to press pause for a minute. I'm just going to see if anyone has any questions so far. Hi, Cora. Just saw that you came in the room, and Jessica.
Yeah, hi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So now let me just press pause and see if you guys have questions or comments. Share your wisdom on some of the things I just shared.
Jalene, thank you so much for sharing about who you are and kind of how you started this business. I think it's really awesome. I already know somebody I want to send to you because she's been begging me for a great leadership coach, and I just didn't ever know anybody until today. So I will introduce the 2 of you. Something I love that you said is that things can be fun, and at the exact same time, they can be challenging and really hard. And that is what happens when we go out and we start businesses. It can be fun and also really hard. So is there any more you want to say about that?
Yeah. I think that is such fertile ground for so much good magic to happen. So to me, whenever I feel that sensation of, I call it, I'm both terrified and exhilarated, I know I'm at the edge of my comfort zone. I know that I am tasked with being brave and taking that step outside and doing something that is probably really awkward and uncomfortable. And more than likely, I'm going to fall down a little the first time I try it. And yet, that exhilaration tells me go in that direction. Like it's sort of that beacon that says, yes, I come this way. Yeah. So it's hard, and it's hard to do alone. And I don't think we need to do it alone. Like I think what I believe so strongly in really, as when I became a solopreneur, I understood this at a whole different level. I've always worked for businesses for 35 years. I worked 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, always had support of a whole organization that we all got a paycheck, you know? And so when I went out on my own as a solopreneur, I realized, yes, I'm alone, but there's no way I can do this alone. So I've really developed a network, and that's part of my self-leadership. Those 9 strategies I'm coming up with is who I call it energizing support. Who energizes you? I mean, and those are lots of different people in our life. Some of them we pay, and some of them are just our good friends, our family, and but to identify who brings you that support so that when you're in that scary step, you're going outside that comfort zone, you have somebody to call on to help you if you need the help. I mean, of course, sometimes we do it on our own. We just forge forward, but I don't think we have to do it all alone. And I think we're better when we help each other and support each other.
I love that. We do need a network. We can't know everything. So it's great to bring some people close that do know the areas that we aren't familiar with. So that's a really good point. One of the things we usually talk about on this show is some of the obstacles you face starting a rural business. Do you want to share some of those with us?
I will. In fact, I made sure I printed out the obstacles I shared with you. So the first thing is there are just fewer potential clients, right in the direct area. And so the way I've looked at that is, first of all, it's an opportunity to really develop relationships. So it's not just a one-off business deal when I go in and do work for people. And you develop those relationships both in the business practice, but also at Fred Meyer, because, you just run into people at the grocery store, right, when you're out shopping. And then in terms of fewer ways to connect with people, because we don't, so I live in Newport and our population is around 10,000. We don't have all those groups and organizations and networking opportunities. And so to really make sure you're taking advantage of the ones that are there, like local chambers, I mean, that's been a great source of connection for me, and the Economic Development Alliance as well. But I think you have to be more intentional about how you're connecting. It doesn't just drop in your lap. They're not just it's not as easy to get to, and maybe even make those choices when it's something that you want to go further away for. Like I've been more involved with the chamber in Corvallis. I mean, that's just an hour away, but a whole different group of people involved in that. Let's see. And then I talked about the miles to drive. Actually, it's funny. I lived in Portland for 17 years, and I mean, you're just used to being able to do so much so close by. So it took me some time to adapt to the fact that I'm just going to have to drive longer to get to the airport, drive longer to get to clients sometimes. And so I think that is also a combination of saying, yes, there's local people close by that I can drive to, but now, and we were talking briefly before this started, kind of the silver lining of the pandemic is that we can do a lot virtually. So I think even in rural communities, I like to think of myself as working both locally and globally. I mean, there's no reason why we can't. And I think also, when I was out on that motorcycle trip, one of the things that that I wrote about in terms of wanting to do when I got back, how I wanted to create my life when I got back, is I wanted to contribute in my community. And so honestly, I'm still finding my way to contribute more meaningfully, more deeply in my community. And I know I may be rambling a little bit off track, but I'm going to say one more thing about the community. I started facilitating a leadership development program for the Chamber of Commerce in Newport for our county. And that has been, I love giving back in that way, giving back in terms of my skills, like the thing that really lights me up, not just sort of cleaning the toilets. Not that that's not important, and not that I can't do that, but really sharing the skills I have. Let's see, I think there might have been one more. Fewer people to collaborate with on projects. So this is interesting too. There's not a lot of people who do the business like I do in this area. And one of the reasons is because of the population. Frankly, when I told people coaching and consulting is what I do, they're like, you do that here? Yeah. So I've had to get creative in ways to make that work. And one of the creative ways is that, so I'm a facilitator in a leadership development program that's called the Complete Leader Program. And you can go to thecompleteleaderprogram.org if you want to know more about that. But one of the colleagues that I met in that program lives near Portland, Maine, on the East Coast. And so he and I actually collaborated to co-design and co-facilitate this self-leadership program to help people accomplish goals that we're offering, to anyone, right? And it's virtual. So it's 9 2-hour sessions. And I love being able to collaborate with people, but that doesn't mean they have to be down the street.
Exactly. We were just talking about that in our Reinventing Rural meeting this morning, that you can live in a rural community. You can live wherever you want to, and you can operate a business. You can make a living, but sometimes you have to go outside that area. You have to find clients outside the area, and that's okay. I want to open this up because I know all these ladies on this call. We've got a great group today. I want to open it up to questions for Jalene. Here you've got a coaching and consulting specialist right here that you can ask anything. So do you have questions? Hop right in, Stacy.
Mute. I do, because the leadership development. Am I unmuted? Sorry, there we
You
go.
are. Yeah, I hear you.
When you say leadership development, so I'm a solo entrepreneur too. So I've never had employees, and everyone who's had employees tells me I'm very fortunate. But I'm about to be president of Rotary, and I'm involved in our church and other things in our rural community. And I do this teen program. And everybody talks about leadership development, but what are some concrete ways to develop leaders? Because it seems to be such a common struggle that people are unwilling to step into positions, or if they do, they're not always effective.
Yeah, great question. Well, you're definitely a leader, that's for sure. So
I don't know that I'm an effective one. I think
I think anyone who's a leader, no matter what their level, I think they'd probably say that, because you're always evolving and always growing as a leader. But I hear you. I totally hear you. So at the foundation of being a good leader, and you can see this in, I would wager to guess probably every book and every quote, somehow it connects with this, is self-awareness. It's really knowing who you are, what you bring to the table, what are your strengths. I mean, we'll just on the basic level, like what are your strengths and weaknesses, right? Mm-hmm. But there's so much more than that. So here is this tool that I started using. Actually, I got connected with it when I came back from South America. I'd never used anything like this before then. And it's so powerful. And it is I should say, not it, but they're online assessments that, and I don't mean the free ones that you do the online thing and then you get the report and then you read it and you go, great, and then you file it away and you don't do anything with it. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is an assessment tool that you then debrief it with someone who can take it deeper and ask you those deeper coaching questions that are relevant to you, not just a cookie cutter approach. So I'll give you an example of the 4 things that we can measure in these assessments. And I'm going to give you guys, actually, this is my free gift. If you saw my announcement, that I'm going to give something it's at least $500 worth of this giveaway, we'll call it. So what I'm going to give to you today. Here's what it measures. Measures your behaviors, how you do what you do. So if you think about an iceberg, this is the top of the iceberg. This is what everyone sees. They can observe these behaviors in you. Okay. So it's learning more about that. The second area is your motivators. Why do you do what you do? What is it that drives you? Motivates you, brings you a sense of reward and satisfaction. Like if that's not present in your work, it's not the end of the world, but you got to get it from somewhere. So you'll need to get it outside of work, but knowing what that is. And then the third area is emotional intelligence. And that is so important. I mean, Daniel Goleman really started writing about that back in the early 90s. And that is also something that is crucial in leadership, is being aware of emotional intelligence. And I'll just tell you the 4 basic domains of that so you get a sense of it. It's self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and social regulation. So I'll just tell you this quick little story of how that shows up. So self-awareness is you wake up in the morning, you're grumpy. You don't know why, just are. And you're aware of that. So you go into the office and you think, oh, I'm not going to take this into the office. I'm going to say, good morning, right? That's self-regulation. You just change the way you're behaving, even though you don't feel that way. And then social awareness is you walk into the office and you can or you can say a customer's office, you can hear a pin drop. The air is so thick, you could cut it. That's social awareness. You just noticed what's going on emotionally in the environment. And so instead of saying, hey, we're here to do this big project today, you say, how's everybody doing today? And that's social regulation. You're actually influencing other people's emotions. So that is the assessment report I'm going to give you guys today. It measures in those 3 areas: behaviors, motivators, emotional intelligence. It's about a 60-page report. Plus, I'm going to give you an hour of coaching with me to make sense of it. And so I will plug that link in, I promise, before the end of the call. And so that's one tool. And then the one other area that I use with clients, because you can mix and match these, is it measures 25 different leadership competencies. So these are just their skills. So you can get a sense of where you are strong and recognize that. I mean, this whole assessment report really helps you see language about yourself in a way that you may not have realized, both your strengths and maybe perceptions that other people might have that aren't so strong. And as a group, like I even use this with my virtual assistant. I want her to take the assessment so that then I can do a report with the both of us on it, and I can see how we work together really well and where we need to watch out for and adapt our styles a bit to get along better. That's a little bit of a long answer, but I'm glad you asked it, because this is a really powerful tool. And even doing it with teams, doing it with boards, really helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I took
Yeah,
notes.
that's exciting. Okay, who
It
else?
is so exciting. I love it so much. They're so deep and rich, and you can take it at face value and go, oh, I read it. Yeah, that makes sense. Or you can get down and really get down the juice of it and the heart of it, and ask what I think of as coachy questions, really to help you learn more about your magic and how you want to show up.
Totally do that. I love learning. That'll be
Cool.
awesome.
Cool.
Okay, who else has a question?
Oh, let's see. Laura asked a question in chat. So she said, can you please share about some of your clients? How do your clients come to the realization that they need and or could benefit from self-leadership help? That's an interesting question. So they come to me in different ways. I'm thinking of one right now that I had a session with this morning. She came to me about a year and a half ago, and she had this great career opportunity, but she knew she wasn't ready for it. And so she said, I'm really clear up front. I want to know your goal. We do a lot of upfront work before we even dive in. This sounds simple. I want to be a better leader. And that's what started it, is that realization that she had this opportunity to step up to a director of national sales in a highly technical scientific product, but she knew she wasn't ready. So that's one. A couple others have come to me. So another woman who's coming to mind is she was at a level in her organization where she knew they were going to tap her to step up, and she wasn't sure if she wanted to. She's like, actually, what do I want? I'm at this particular stage of life. And so that's why I say it's both leadership and self-leadership, because sometimes it's saying, I don't want to step up into that bigger role because I want to lead myself into this other direction. So and often they come to me because we've just met. I mean, let's face it, you don't want to hire a coach that you don't connect with in some way. So that's my best way, because I love to connect with people. I love people, and so I love to connect in person, or just like this. This works too, so we can get a sense of each other.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Melinda, Jessica, Cora, do any of you have questions?
There we go. I have I teach the Small Business Management 2 class for the SBDC right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of, when you were talking about leadership, one of the things we've stressed over multiple classes actually is that your business and the environment that you want, the type of employees that you hire, how you want what you want to present to your customers, everything starts with you. And what kind of leader you are. And before you start saying, I have horrible employees, maybe you need to flip that around and say, you did hire those employees, or, you did set up that customer service, or you did set up that policy. Maybe the problem is you and not, and so that's one of the things we really stress is to be a leader and be present and be involved.
Yeah.
With your employees and your customers, and don't just step back and try to lead from a distance, because it doesn't work.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I think when you know better, you do better. And I mean, when I hear things like, you need to step up, you need to, you're a part of this, you need to show up, you need to be present. And I think about the leaders I've coached, and sometimes people don't know how to do that. I mean, and it depends on the person too. I'm thinking of a man right now that I'm coaching that works for a national education institute, we'll say, and he really wants to develop those skills in listening, in showing up as the kind of leader that he wants to be. But it kind of takes some soul searching to figure that out. And a part of that is, I think it's just easier to start out with a little data, a little bit of language. Like, where do you even begin in understanding? You sort of answer these questions in the assessment, and then it paints a picture of your behaviors, we'll say, and your motivators. And then you can start saying, oh yeah, actually that does motivate me, or that is me, or that isn't me. I guess the bottom line I'm saying is that it's that self-awareness thing. I just think it is challenging. It's challenging because we're also, as I think all leaders, we're always so busy, right? Who has time to actually reflect? And so having someone or a group or some way of helping that reflection to build those skills, like they really are skills. I mean, these are not things you need to be born with. I think that I really want to stress that. Some leaders will think, oh, well, I'm just not made to be a leader, or I'm shy, so I shouldn't be a leader. And that's just absolutely not true. But it does take some work, I think, to identify and clarify who you want to be as a leader.
Thank you. I think Jess had a question too. Did you want to hop in?
I don't know if it was a question, but I was really feeling what you were saying. And when you said like self-leadership, it's like I haven't heard that. Like leadership, I hear leadership, but then like, leading yourself, I just saw it in a different way. And when you also said like asking the question of like what energizes you, like knowing to ask that question, I guess at the beginning when you're not feeling energized, like how do you get to that spot? And I guess just being on the call and listening to the fact that someone who is a coach would ask that question, what energizes you, to then think about that, so I think that self-awareness, what you were saying, and I'm just, I'd like the assessment tool as well. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm going to just right this minute, I have it right here to copy and paste for you.
Or you could put it in the chat, or
that's what I'm going to do. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Exactly what I'm going to do. Then you guys can just grab it right now before the call ends.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, good. And then what I'll say is, what will happen is you'll take this survey assessment, and then the PDF report will come to me. So just go to my website. There's a link at the top that says schedule. Just schedule a 1-hour coaching session. I promise I won't charge you. It may not say this is complimentary, but just know it is. So, yeah.
Thank you, Jalene. I really appreciate that. And if you're watching this later, this is just for the people that were on the original call, but Jalene's website will be available to you so that you can hop on and find out more about her business and her coaching if you would like to. So Jalene, and wrapping it up, we only have a couple more minutes. Is there anything else you want to say or share? I know the time flew by.
Yeah, no, it did fly by. I know, I love to talk about this stuff. And I have a feeling we could all sit down with a cup of coffee and have a great conversation. I would just say my one thing I want to leave with is, yes, take the assessment, reach out and schedule time with me. Even if you don't, it's after this call and you don't take the assessment, I am just really open and friendly to talk with about these things. And I love to be a thought partner. And maybe I'm the right person for you to help develop your team, to do executive coaching with, and maybe I'm not. But I am happy to talk with you about those topics.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us this morning and learn more about your business and how you run it from a rural area. I can't wait to talk with you further. And I definitely will send a client your way. I'll send an email introduction, and hopefully that'll work out for the two of you.
Thank you, Anne. I really appreciate that.
Yes. And thank you, ladies, all for joining and your great insight today. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks on the next WeChat.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.